Okay. Let's go. Yeah, turn those lights off for me. Maybe one. Maybe. Can you see? Only if you can see. No. Turn that one off. Yeah. Let's just keep one on. Okay, that'll work. Okay. Folks, I'm sorry. I'm kind of in a hurry. We had a lot of crazy stuff happen. Let me tell you what. Oh my goodness. The bus I had taken was late, and boy, what a mess. Now, if I'm 100% sure, I think there is a microphone in this classroom, I believe. I'm going to just try to figure that out. 1 second. Hello. Well, bear with me, folks. Maybe you guys know how to start this microphone up and going. Well, let's see. There we go. No. 1, 2, 1, 2. ABC, 1, 2, 3. Right? Like the new Michael Jackson movie. Anybody watch the new Michael Jackson movie, by the way? Very good. Very good movie, right? Think it did some favors for our King of Pop. Okay, microphone's not going to work, folks, and that's okay. But we're in a hurry, so I got to teach. Well, goodness gracious, here we are, folks. I am Graham Smith, independent film director and volunteer teacher of cinematic studies. And I just got done teaching a class a couple hours ago, and here's our second class. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for your interest, and I will definitely make it worth your time. As I said before, independent film director, cinematographer. That's my phone number, Instagram, email, all that good stuff if you want to be a part of what we do at Smitty Cycle Films. It's our film company. And we have actors and actresses and producers and writers all over the country. And we're a collective group of artists devoted to the craft of art and of cinema. So, which takes us for today, right? So basically, what do I teach? Well, I teach bridging the gap between spirituality and script writing. I'm going to show you guys how to write a good script. And one thing I did for the other class is I taught the subconscious language of cinema. And I thought for this class we're going to go over something that's very similar. And it's the feeling of time in a cinema. I just thought, what better time than now, considering today's been all around time, me being late to Chico because of the bus and just a number of things all relating to time, right? So, the feeling of time in cinema. And I'm going to have to talk real loud because I don't have a microphone, folks, so forgive me. But we really want to make sure that people can hear me. A lot of it, too, is my Zoom class. Some of those folks can't always hear me. So I'm going to try to be as loud as I possibly can. The feeling of time in cinema. Why do some films feel eternal? Yeah, yep. Exactly, yes. These are all good reasons of why a film feels eternal. Time is subjective to each film that you guys brought up those references. And the second part of this question is in other films, why do some films feel disposable? Right? A lot of it is, fundamentally, a lot of it is memory, pacing, temporality, Temporality. Temporality. Forgive me, I can't speak very well today. It's been a crazy day. It's been very temporary. Oh my goodness. But temporarily, temporality. Temporality. Right? Maybe it's a word I made up. Who cares? What's another reason why films feel eternal or disposable? It's because of emotional duration. Right? Emotional duration is a huge factor. And existential cinema. Okay? A lot of this is because we instinctively understand time emotionally. Because that's how our brain operates. We first go to emotion before we process logics. It's just how our brain works. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this. Hopefully you all can see this. Now, cinema does not record time. Cinema does not record time. And you might be thinking, what the hell do I mean by that? Well, cinema does not record time. No, what it does is it does something much deeper. It recreates the sensation. Okay? It recreates the sensation of time. That's what good cinema does. Why does a 3-minute scene, for example, feel so enormous? When you're watching a good film. Why can a 2-hour film feel fast, while a 10-second moment feels eternal? Because it recreates the sensation of time. Why do memories in life, for example, behave similarly? Right? Life is just a bunch of moments. So why do moments in life, memories in life, behave as similar as the sensation of time? That's why. It's a sensation. It's a feeling. And a lot of this has to do with film editing, but film editing isn't strictly chronological. It's editing manipulates, right? It manipulates the emotional duration. It manipulates psychological weight. And it manipulates memory perception. But most importantly, it manipulates consciousness itself. Okay? So, cinema does not record time, it recreates the sensation of time. So let's dive into this a little bit, folks. Let's look at emotional time. Emotional time, right, versus clock time. Right? Emotional time versus clock time. Let's look at the depth of this. At its core, humans do not experience time objectively, right? We don't. We don't experience time objectively. A minute of grief can feel like forever. A minute of fear can feel like months. It can feel like your whole lifetime in one moment. A moment of embarrassment, right? It feels prolonged. It feels enormous. Or the feeling of loneliness. How it feels like lifetimes, multiple lifetimes. Loneliness. It feels longer than a minute. Whereas, joy, for example, joy and excitement and love and stimulation just in general, it compresses time psychologically. And cinema magically imitates this. So, let's do a little thing. So we got our clock time, right? And this is measured. Our clock time is measured by emotional time. Right? Which is experience. Emotional time. It's experience. Okay? A filmmaker can stretch. We can stretch things in our films and in our screenwriting. We can stretch silence, for example, or waiting, like waiting for a bus, to go teach your class. Tension, anticipation, all of these things to create emotional duration. This is why, for example, a character waiting for a phone call can feel more intense than an explosion sequence. No shade on Michael Bay. Emotional time behaves like gravity around the human nervous system. Okay? Certain scenes bend time the way massive planets bend light. So, let's look at silence. For example, again, and I'm dumbing this down very much so because the spiritual understandings of truth and emotional intelligence are very simple. And so, it really is just this simple. And we'll dive more into it as you keep coming to my classes, and we'll dive more into why the simplicity of the spirituality behind making a good film and a good script. So silence, right? More importantly, stillness. Stillness, right? Meditate and be mindful. Mindfulness. Why is this important? Stillness is important because stillness magnifies awareness. Modern media conditions audiences. Okay, Hollywood conditions audiences for constant movement and stimulation and noise, like a casino, a ding, 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 and a bunch of information all at once, just sensory overload. So when a filmmaker introduces silence or slowness, or even better, stillness, the audience suddenly becomes hyper-aware. And they begin to notice all the little things, the breathing of a character, or the sounds of the environment, and the body language, right? Body language, and the emotional tension behind complex relationships being shown. Stillness forces consciousness inward. Why can watching someone stare out a window feel emotionally heavy? Well, it's because the audience begins emotionally filling the emptiness themselves. And therefore, stillness creates projection space. A quiet scene is like snow falling onto a battlefield after the war has ended. Stillness in good cinema is the sound of the audience hearing themselves think. Okay? Stillness. me double check my Zoom class. You'll notice this, folks. Now, if you keep coming to my classes, you'll notice that I always have to check my Zoom class because they get kicked off Canvas a lot, or Zoom. We can't really find the error. But, and then they miss what I say. So you'll see me periodically go to the camera to double check that our Zoomers are still on board. Ooh. All right, now let's look at memory. Ooh, memory lane. Memory lane, right? Memory, logic, right? Let's look at memory logic in films. Okay? Boing. Boy, memory logic in films. Let's see if I can give you an example of what I mean by this. And again, a lot of this is very self-explanatory, so you know. Spirituality is very, very simple. It has everything to do with just thinking for yourself and your interpretation. Anyway, memory logic. What's one way we do this? Long takes. Okay? Sometimes in a film we use long takes. Because long takes are a beautiful thing. They allow reality to unfold naturally. And so the audience begins observing, you know, the awkwardness, the hesitations, the insecurities of a person, the uncertainty, the genuine duration. Time itself becomes the scene. And these are more emotionally truthful. You say, okay, well, why can long takes feel more emotionally truthful? Well, it's because it's a guide. It's a guide towards a lack of manipulation. It's realism. It's vulnerability. It's immersion. We're immersing our audience. When a scene is uninterrupted, right, the audience subconsciously feels like this is really happening, right? Takes them into reality. Becomes real life. You know, and this isn't always the case, but for what we're teaching today, you know, fast cutting is like being dragged through consciousness. Whereas a long take is like being trapped inside it. A long take allows time to pool, if you will, inside a scene, like water filling a room. And these things are very, very effective in your films, okay? Let's go over another thing. Specifically, empty space, right? These long takes sometimes are full of empty space. Well, that's effective because people, we have the fear of empty space. We're human beings, our ego is made to create meaning. Empty space, it can create fear in us. And modern audiences are afraid of emptiness. Right? Many contemporary films fear the silence, the pauses, the rawness. And it's because memory is nonlinear. Human memory does not preserve life as objective chronological order or this perfect continuity or this factual precision, right? Rather, memory preserves fragments and sensations and emotionally charged moments in the human psyche. And cinema often becomes powerful when it mimics memory itself in its rawest form. You know, some examples of memory like cinema. And let's double check our Zoomers. One more time here. Okay. Yes.